Hey everybody. First of all, I got to get this out of the way. Late night stream, really late because of a project I was working on. Let me tell you about the headline you're saying, if you haven't heard about it already. Huh? What? Uh, Scott Kaplan out of the mighty 1090 in San Diego, who is in Oakland for the Raiders Chargers. Sorry, folks. Raiders Rams. Yeah, I got the California part right, right? Game at the Coliseum, managed to say somehow to Mark Davis, hey, how about Oakland to San Diego for 1 year? And Mark Davis, the owner of the Raiders, of course, being Mark, he said, yeah, let's do it. So now there are people who actually think this is a real thing. Okay. Hello, Miguel and Chris. How are you? First of all, let me explain by the long way around why it's not a real thing. And the minute that Mark said, yeah, it's do it, it became not real at all. In fact, since it was never real. Mark has this tendency to kind of in his get along, be jocular and friendly personality, say something that is a response to someone's big idea or even a directive he puts out, but it's not really serious. And what I'm interested in is the circumstances upon which Mark came to make that comment, because after I argued with Mark regarding going behind Oakland Mayor Lee Schaff's back at the NFL Spring League meeting in 2015, and this is on camera, off camera, I was having a conversation with he and Mike Silver, my longtime friend, who, by the way, is going to be inducted in the Bay Area Jewish Sports Hall of Fame this weekend, about the PAT rule, not mentioning the stadium. And then I said to Mark, hey, you should establish your own task force. And Mark started laughing and said, what's that? And I realized in explaining, I was going down kind of a rabbit hole because he wasn't really paying attention. And because in the middle of my explanation where I was trying to avoid pedantry, he just interrupted me and said, you come up with a plan. And I said, what? And he goes, you come up with a stadium plan. And I looked at Mike Silver, and Mike looked at me, and we both looked at Mark. And Mark said, you come up with a stadium plan, give it to Will Kiss over there. And I said, say that again. He said, come up with a stadium plan. So I did. That's a long story. If you want to see the plan, if you don't know this already, go to Google and type Coliseum Reboot. It's the first result. That's the whole website about the plan. Now, when I ran into Mark saw him at the NFL Owners Spring League meeting after having secured a couple of conference call meetings, main call with the managing director of Diane Paul, and managing director of Piper Jaffray at the time. And this is 2015, and had a conference call with 6 of her employees, 5 or 6, 5 of her employees. Excuse me, I'm counting myself. And having created a spreadsheet and then had it gone over with the Coliseum Joint Powers Authority Executive Director Scott McKibben and Rebecca Kaplan, who was the Oakland at-large council member who was on the JPA at the time. Did all that. Went to Mark, said, I got $2 billion for you. Make a long story short, Mark never carved out any time for him to look at my stadium plan. And you would say it's because he already made up his mind to go to Las Vegas, right? And my retort is, yeah, but he could have, and Mark Bedane could have set a meeting just to find out from my voice, not their own interpretation, what I had developed, and whether or not they could have used it for other plans, which would have been fine with me. So, but that never happened. And after the Las Vegas vote at the NFL annual meeting in 2017, the NFL, wow, time flies, right? Because it's just 2017 and now we're 2018 and this thing's in motion. But after that decision, Mark had went up to Godfather Grizz, Greg Jones, Forever Oakland, and said, "We need to talk." And Grizz said, what are we talking about?" And he said, "The future." And I was right there at the couch in the lobby, sitting next to Grizz. And Greg said, "There is no future." And they eventually did meet to discuss the future. I don't want to give away Greg's confidences, but the bottom line is that when Mark has these ideas, and he has this tendency to throw around these ideas and say he's going to do some of these grand sweeping things, like, for example, paying John Gruden $100 million to become coach of the Raiders, right? I'm not saying that everything that he says doesn't, come to pass, but he has a tendency to make these grand, wide, sweeping pronouncements, or agree with these grand, wide, sweeping ideas that have nothing to do with where the Raiders may be in terms of their business activities at the time. Okay. And so I don't have to imagine. I know he gives Oakland Raiders president Mark Bedane fits. He has to. So this is one of those, because the situation right now is that the Raiders, as I understand it, have signed the lease to play at the Coliseum. Now, they keep making noise about, someone said, well, tearing up the contract. Think about that statement. Tearing up the contract can mean you already signed it, but we're not going to honor the lease, so tear it up. Okay. However, there is a clock that's involved in all this. Yeah. No organization can, given the magnitude of time it takes to come to an agreement, to move around stadium schedules, to make sure the stadium is secure and available for use at the times, let alone the cost and rental issues, and let alone the time. It's 1 year, okay? All that. All of those negotiations cannot be done overnight. And the longer you wait to do them between now and, I would really say, you need to wrap those up by February. Okay. That's a tight time frame already. If you don't wrap them up by February, the stadium organization starts to get a little antsy. And unless you have a great relationship with them, like the Raiders have with the Coliseum JPA, and the JPA is willing to extend out the deadline, you're not going to get that extended deadline. And then, of course, there's the amount of money they're going to want for just 1 year. All that has to be taken into play. But hey, look, Scott Kaplan got one of Mark Davis' famous kind of, I call it half promises, to be like kind of buddy friendly. And he took off with it. And now everyone's like, oh, is this a real thing? No, folks, I'm telling you, it's not a real thing. Okay. It is, the minute Mark said, yeah, let's do it, it only meant, oh yeah, that's a cool idea. It's like a jocular thing. But Mark is not going to turn around and actually do it. Because if they were actually going to do it, they would have done it by now. Because there were words early on this year, the Raiders were, quote, snooping around San Diego, unquote. All right. So I want to open up with that. I don't tend to stay on long because of the lateness of the hour. And so we have, who is this? I'm trying to read this. Cisneros says, it's mind-blowing how Oakland couldn't get a deal done. Well, hold on a second. All right. First of all, the reason, and again, this is something you really need to keep in mind, because I don't know who you really are, right? But hey, Muhammad, how you guys doing? But it's really important to understand that you can't get a deal done when someone is not working with you in good faith. Okay. So you say it's mind-blowing that Oakland couldn't get a deal done. But that also means you haven't done the research to learn about the history of this. I'm happy to tell you in one short video that you need to look at that shows what happened. And it's NFL commissioner, even not even a video, I'll show you what you need to read. Okay. But NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell said to me that the Raiders were partly to blame for why they don't have a new stadium in Oakland. Now, ask yourself this question: what the heck does partly to blame mean? No one has ever asked Commissioner Goodell that question. And it's the kind of question that, hey, look, if you were to file a lawsuit against the National Football League and the Raiders in your city of Oakland, you bet your bottom dollar your attorneys damn well better ask that question of the commissioner of the NFL. All right. What does that mean? Hey, everybody, welcome to Zenny 62. What does it mean? Hey, Emma, how are you? And here's the link. I'm writing LINK in big letters. All right. And that is what you need to read. Okay. Read that. And this other one, God, my contact lenses are conking out on me. Raiders are not the same, not for Oakland. This is Linford, and then we've got John Santos. John, haven't seen in some time. He says, can't wait for expansion team. And ML, how are you? So, and Kui, how are you doing? I have these contact lenses, like these temporary ones that I got from America's Best, and then when they put them in, they were fine, but I slept in them, and now they're weak again. I mean, they're weak. Okay. Not entirely weak. I mean, for example, in terms of reading, it's like, but they might as well be like my other lenses. So I got to call them and say, hey, you know what? These are weak. Hopefully the prescription they have for me, this is not it. This is just a trial. Works like a charm. Prayers. So I'm squinting because of these things. I also need to get some glasses. All right. Now, overall, I will tell you this: when there's silence regarding a team's position and where they're going to play, and when I say not just from the Raiders, but from the city of Oakland, the Coliseum Joint Powers Authority, and the county of Alameda, when you don't hear something going on, and yet there's rumblings of a lawsuit, it's a pretty good bet that, look, the parties don't want to talk because litigation is about to happen. All right. The Oakland City Council gave a green light to the Oakland City Attorney's Office before recess, and this happened in July of this year, for the city attorney, if the city attorney deems it necessary, working with Jim Quinn and the other lawyers, like Eric, the gentleman of Wild Wheels Golf Show, New York, to file a lawsuit. That's in their lap. You're not going to have a big public hearing. There's not going to be a big to-do. Everything about this effort is going to be underwater, silent. Well, when I say oil, I don't even understand why I'm saying going to be, because it is, folks. It is that way. So that's where we're at. And I just wanted to really squash that whole San Diego thing before it gets out in the open and starts getting nutty. In fact, San Jose was far more real. And the way Mark is, you could have said, hey, by the way, how about San Jose for 1 year? And he would say, good idea. Let's make it work. Okay. That's the kind of guy he is. And it doesn't mean he's serious about it. It just means that he's taking that comment in and of itself and saying, oh, yeah, that's a cool idea. It doesn't mean he wants to do it. Just saying, doesn't mean the Raiders even thinking along that path. Okay. So just letting you know, I can safely, well, I can say, yeah, that's the situation. Hey, unknown Raider guy, how you doing? Also, hey, shifting gears and talking about Las Vegas, the rumbling now is that the new official opening day of the stadium is August 1st of 2020. Okay. In fact, what I got was on Twitter. When I looked at it, I thought, wait a minute, here we go again. This is them just quoting the stadium documents, all right? And it's really the Review Journal marketing. That's it. There is a 3-month move-in date that's attached to the Raiders stadium project. And so once the stadium is complete, they have 3 months to move in before they can declare it used. All right. Now, who I'm really paying attention to is Sheldon Adelson. And right now, there's no latest big news, but I'm looking for anything that might tip our hand regarding his potential future or current involvement in the Raiders stadium. All right. That's what I'm looking for. And I don't see it. I can Sheldon Adelson Raiders here. And I may just see what I put up. And yeah, well, no, actually, Sally Denton saw my article on September 7th and decided she tweeted out. Thank you, Sally. Who's Sally Denton? Sally Denton is an author and investigative reporter who writes narrative nonfiction about America's hidden history, including the profiteers, Bechtel, and the men who built the world. Ooh. But anyway, thank you, Sally. I think I'll give her a follow. Sounds like doing some interesting stuff there. So anyway, she tweeted it out, and let's see here. We have Seth Wickersham from April 13th of 2017. And do you realize that in Las Vegas, do you know what the number 2 Twitter search trend was? Raiders. How about that? Raiders. So anyway, I don't see any news about Adelson and the Raiders other than what I put out. That's it. What if I put Sheldon Adelson, Adelson, and Mark Davis? Mark Davis. Boom. No results for Sheldon. Well, hold on a second. I misspelled that. Boom. Okay. No, nothing. Just people musing about Davis. Mark Davis is really the GOAT. Chris Hayes. It's me. John Mara in 2017. Master of Self on September 1st tweets, if Mark Davis, well, okay. I don't want to repeat that. If Mark Davis, I'll just clean it up. If Mark Davis had just kept his deal with Sheldon Adelson, he'd have had the cash flow to afford Khalil Mack, but no. Old Bullcut wanted to pay a coach and a mediocre coach $100 million and Carr $125 million before paying by far the best player we've had the last 20 years. Actually, longer than last 20 years. Shaking his head, say 25. Maybe ever in Raider history. So here we go. Hey, everybody. Wow, there's 51 of you here. God, I thought you all would be in bed. Everything says a Cowboy wrestler, yeah, it's flood. This is a market again. They had problems filling stadiums. Okay, I've got a question for the flock since I'm not going to be here long. But let me get this out of the way and we can pick it up tomorrow, okay? John Gruden, after what you saw Monday, what do you believe now will be the outcome of the Denver Broncos game? Okay, at Denver. And I'm going to lay a prediction on you. And I'm going to say that it's going to be Broncos 24, Raiders 17. Broncos 24, Raiders 17. What say you all? This ought to be a ton of fun. I can't wait to see this. So Daryl knows we're signing Bryant, and this is a good idea. I think signing Martavius Bryant is something that is a very good idea, but they should never have released him. You know, we've got Nancy says Broncos 35, Raiders 17. That's from Corey Brown. I said Nancy. Sorry, Corey. It's the contacts. Corey says Broncos 35, Raiders 17. We've got Heavenly win against the Donkey. Is a prediction for the Raiders. The Raiders says 28-21 Raiders. Daryl says he agrees. Jay Boogie says I'm watching the Broncos game right now. Bill Musgrave has the Broncos offense rolling. I agree. I was watching that too, Jay Boogie. And Marcel Slow says Denver in a rout. John Akala says Raiders 27, Broncos 21. The Broncos have this extra storyline where they've got people on their team that have a legitimate collective beef against the Raiders, like Bill Musgrave, Marquette King, right? So not to mention the rivalry itself, okay? And Richie says, I've seen everything. Hate to see this year for the Raiders. And the Raiders says, but also Seattle. What is it? Seattle rookies need more practice. So basically, you're saying, that Seattle's kind of a gimme for the Broncos? Maybe. The Raiders also says, so I don't give the Broncos that much credit. I hear you. I thought Case Keenum. Well, here's the thing. Broncos. I was impressed with the Broncos receiving core from the perspective of ball control passing, where I feel Musgrave has really improved schematically, and it's outside bounce and running attack. So those two factors, I think the Raiders really have to ask themselves if they're going to play 4-2-5 with 5 under man, 2 deep zone, and I wouldn't go exotic with the Broncos. And the reason why I wouldn't is the way Musgrave has that offense designed. It's very pointless. So they'll audible to certain plays that work depending on key changes. They're great at changing the plays. I haven't seen evidence the receivers have adjusting patterns as of yet. But what I did see was a variety of Broncos receivers catch the ball, including my favorite rookie, Cortland Sutton, my favorite one wide receivers, the man that I felt the Raiders should have drafted. I said it before. The test is going to be the Broncos defense versus the Raiders offense. And if Martavius can be activated to play on Sunday, the Raiders are going to need that speed to loosen up the Broncos defense. They really are. I really are. Okay, let me read the rest of your scores here. So anyway, the Raiders says, but I got that one. Alvin, as I say, Alvin says the Seahawks are rebuilding. Miguel, how you doing, Miguel? Miguel says the Raiders need to run Lynch more in this game. Stop with the little dink and dunk. I agree with that. And I think something else, too, I was talking about. Let me see if I can reach this. The other night last night, about the Raiders' need for kind of a 5-wide set. And what the problems were. And I keep forgetting the pin here. That's agonizing. I thought I had a pin right here. You know what I mean? I was going to drop this neat little play right here, and I don't have the doggone pin that allows me to do that. Ratso. I'm going to have to keep in mind, just reminder to self, bring back Sharpie. I had a Sharpie that was up here, okay? And it's not. So, dang it. So anyway, no Sharpie. That's agonizing. In fact, you know what this is? A pin cap. Ooh, but no pin. Isn't that stupid of me? Yes, it is. Wow. See, now I'm a man on a mini mission. A mini mission to find a pin of some type to show you all something. I don't have it right, so I gotta straighten that out. There should be a pin up here. It's absolutely ridiculous. I keep putting pins up here, and they keep disappearing. Not cool. All right. Not cool. Okay, I'll just say it. If the Raiders lined up asymmetrical 5 wide, what I mean by that is common for 5 wide receivers, your 3 wide receivers to one side, 2 to the other, okay? But completely asymmetrical formation has 4 wide receivers here. The Raiders do have that kind of set, but they have a bunch with the wide receiver out here. And then they have a single wide receiver here, all right? The problem with the bunch, coaches get really lazy with that diamond bunch. And what I mean by lazy is, for some particular reason, when they have the diamond bunch, coaches feel like they have to actually run a screen from that side, or some type of rub play that's a short pass, as opposed to using that bunch such that, let's say this is the diamond. You have the split in here, right? The flanker, and then you'll have the fullback, pass catching fullback here, right? Okay. And then you'll have the tight end. So you have the tight end on a wing, split in, flanker, and fullback. And then you've got your wing out here, okay? And then over here, you've got your other wide receiver, your split in here. So what you would do, and your quarterback is back here, right? So you've got your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 receivers, okay? Quarterback, offensive line. What I don't see teams doing is taking the bottom guy. It could be a gal, doing that. But the bottom guy in this case, running as if the person's going to run a flat, having these receivers clear, not just clear out for this person, but run, in this case, run to the sideline, and then here run the corner, and bring this person back over wide open. All right? That's 5 yards here, come back 10 yards wide open. If you think about the design of that play and where it causes the defenders to line up, you have to play man for man, first of all. You have to honor the receiver over here. Okay. If you get single coverage over here, you have the safety sneaking over this way. You've got to throw that. You've got to run a quick slant, because that's the better percentage throw than over the top. This should be a combination pattern. In other words, if you get inside coverage with the cornerback, ball out, run the fly. Get outside coverage, you run a drive slant, not a slant toward the safety. That's which brings me to this. The Dallas Cowboys have the dumbest slant pattern I've ever seen in my entire life. They're running it right toward the safety instead of the seam. They need to change the angle. Just saying. But my point is, the Raiders don't have plays, or if they do, they haven't ran plays like that. Instead, it's the combination plays that, and I've pointed this out before, it's the touchdown, the check down, as Pep Hamilton would say. Touchdown is you have the fly pattern guy. Let's say the flanker goes on a fly, right? The tight end, let's say Jared Cook, goes on the out, all right? And then the back, Rashard Lynch, goes in the flat. 1, 2, 3. Touchdown to check down. The Raiders have ran that concept, or as Gruden would call it, concept, again and again and again. But a good defense knows to take away the touchdown and force the check down. That's what the Rams are doing. They were taking away the touchdown and forcing the check down. But if you break that up and you use the kind of play I'm describing, what you're doing is you're ripping the defense apart. Okay, you're grabbing the defense with your formations and with your patterns, and you're ripping it apart, creating the hole, and having the quarterback throw into that hole to a receiver. It's a different mindset. Okay, so will the Raiders use it? Before the season started, I thought I had hopes that Gruden would, but now I don't know. It's just too much of that touchdown, the check down stuff. It just is. For the amount of money that Mark is paying John, I'll be honest with you. There's no, I like John a lot, but there's no excuse for John to come in with a conventional system. He's paying $100 million for Gruden to do what some say is the impossible, create a team that would run the table. And this is not that team. Okay. I don't think Mark brought John back just to be Chucky. All right. In fact, I know it because I know that last year Morris Bradshaw, Raider great legend, was telling me that, we want to bring a Super Bowl to Oakland before we leave. That's been the Raiders' objective for some time now. All right. So Corvette, how you doing? Unknown Raider guy says Raiders need a good back. Caballero says Unknown Raider guy, don't Carr was playing like Dak Prescott last night. Derek Carr had passed a sale on him, and I meant to go and look at the NFL Game Pass and the All 22 to see why he was sailing on his passes. Folks, it is 2:19 in the morning now. I'm gonna cut off because I need to get to bed. And I again thank you all for wow, 43 of you at this time of night. That's quite impressive. Thank you. I'll be back tomorrow night at the normal time, and but I had to finish this phase of a project that I've been hired to work on. That was just sticking out there. All right. Good night, everybody. Thank you all for your support, and God bless you. See ya.